Here's the exhibit by Jorge Fonseca, Laberinto de Amor, which means Labyrinth of Love. He's already, starting with the title, he's already beginning to make fun of even the title of love, you know, kind of alluding to maybe corny novels or whatever that have to do with the concept of love. You can tell that he borrows, or some of his poetic language is based on comic books and kind of so-called lowbrow art. But he does something more to them. He actually sews everything himself. This is like the old-fashioned technique that is used by women in various societies. Embroidery, he actually does his own embroidery. And he does this embroidery in various aspects. For example, here, you know, he makes fun of religious saints, embroidery, and various other things that have to do with that kind of artisanal handmade art. That's one of the amazing things about this guy, is that he actually does all the work himself, which is very unusual these days, because a lot of artists have stuff, they send it out to be made, but they don't, you know, they don't actually do it. This is a good way to remind the viewers of what Jorge is able to do. He embroidered all this himself, and again we see one of these so-called tacky images that the house is built from, the house that is at the outset of the exhibit. And you can see that this fantastical kind of landscape contains all the cutesy little things that you normally associate with one of those fantastic kind of tacky landscapes. And he plays with that, and he plays with it actually doing all this work himself, including all the embroidery himself. An incredible piece, very strong both conceptually and technically. Here, Jorge flirts with the idea of an amorous triangle. You can tell that it starts out with a man's image. Then, as we move around these painted slots, we see the woman who's in the middle of this amorous triangle, and it ends with, on the other side, with another man who's part of this amorous triangle. And of course, what makes it even funnier is that he actually makes this piece in the shape of a triangle and then sticks little tacky flowers on the side of this piece to add even more humor to something like this. And the name of the piece is Love is Beautiful. So very funny, very interesting, a piece that if you own it would probably never tire. And here, speaking of again, slats that are painted from different sides, here is an example of extreme femininity, of a blonde from the King Kong film. And as we go around it, we get a word puff, which is a kind of a word from comic books, and then finally it dissolves into the image of King Kong himself, which is not only kind of a whole kind of joke on the films, comic books, etc., but also a sort of it dialogues with the whole idea of extreme masculinity and femininity, the two sides of the same person, you could say. And then again, he even plays with it even further by adding little stars to the side of the work that brings up the issue of carnivalesque images of carnivals, or even of movies with stars among the, you know, stars at the side of the stars that are actually in the movie. So it plays even on the whole concept of stars. Again, let's go around here, see it dissolve into puff, and then finally, you know, on the other side of the beautiful blonde who King Kong so desired.